Kris Krohn here with Limitless TV, and today I've got guest mentor Marianne Denovelis back by popular demand talking about the effects of pornography. This is a really important subject, and I want to make sure you watch the video to the end because Marianne is going to show you that if you are a victim of pornography or it's in your life, what can you do about it?
Let's have the talk. You know, the talk. The one about the S word, the sex word. Let's also have another talk. Let's have the talk about pornography. I know this isn't always a popular thing, but there's a reason for that. It may not seem popular to talk about, but it's totally popular in the underground. 90% of our population is either dealing with something like this addiction to pornography, or knows someone who is. And more often than not, it's not talked about, and it's taboo, and it's hushed up because it's so tied to shame and to guilt and to regret. Let me just tell you something. It's time to throw the doors open. This is everywhere. You know it's everywhere. You've been online. You know it's there. You've driven out in the street. You know it's there. You've walked down the supermarket aisles. You've checked out at the register. It's everywhere, and it's accepted. It's widely accepted in this social community that we're in. I want to share something about the effects of pornography. And to do that, I'm going to tell you about a story that's going on in the world right now, and it has nothing to do with pornography. In fact, there's a community that is involved in agriculture, the farming community. In this farming community, they're always looking for new ways to control the bugs. Because what do bugs do? They destroy the crops. They destroy the leaves. They destroy the fruit. They destroy the plant. They make it unsellable at the market. And when that happens, it destroys the livelihood of the family who's doing the community and who's in the farming community. It destroys the family who's trying to make an income and trying to make a living. So they see a need to stop this bug problem, right? And if you've ever had a home garden, you know what I'm talking about. I've got a home garden right now, and thank goodness I've got chickens. They're covering that bug problem for me. So let's talk about these pesticides. Okay, so they're using pesticides. They're spraying these plants so that they have this bug problem eliminated, right? What they're finding, though, is that people are really turned off to anything that has pesticides on it because they feel like it's a poison to their system. Non-GMO, non-pesticide, organic, that's all the rage right now. So really, they're looking for a solution in the community that doesn't involve poisons to kill the bugs. And they found something. What they have discovered is that they can spray pheromones on the plants that are non-poisonous to humans, but still control the bug problem. Now, how do they do it? What they're doing is taking the female pheromone of whatever species of insect that they're dealing with and spraying it all over these plants. Seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? If you spray the female pheromone, aren't all of these bugs going to come and dive through the field, filling up all the plants and eating them? Here's what's happening. They've discovered that when they spray this pheromone all over these plants, yeah, the males come, but they're not coming for food. They're looking for the female. They're looking for the female in that field. And guess what they're finding? Nothing. Nothing to be had. Because their pheromones are there, but the female part of the species, she's gone. She's not even there. And the females, they're not coming to the field because they smell that female pheromone all over the place and say, oh, I guess that one's already inhabited. We'll go somewhere else. It's taking care of the females, and the males are finding nothing there. And guess what happens? These males become desensitized to the female pheromone. So when a female actually does show up in their world, they're so used to responding to this female pheromone without finding a female that when they find a female, they're not responding to her at all. And when that happens, guess what? No eggs, no babies, no bugs. So, problem solved in the community, right? Think about that in terms of what pornography does. Think about for a moment how many images you see in one day. They're everywhere. If you're online, you're seeing tens of thousands of images. If you're driving down the street, you're seeing billboards. You're seeing magazines in the grocery store. Think about how many pictures you see in a day. And think about how many of those pictures could be considered pornographic content. We have become desensitized to it. We are so used to seeing pixels, we don't respond to people. And men and women, I'm talking to both of us here. We have become so obsessed with the image that we forget about the person. And the effects of pornography are the same in our community as they are in the insect world. Think about it. Think about how families are being destroyed because of the effects of pornography. Think about how often a man and a woman will get together just to satisfy and not to create. This pornography is not only damaging the soul of a person, it damages entire communities. It destroys the family that the community is fundamentally built on. C.S. Lewis wrote an amazing book. In this book, he describes about how this fleet of ships is traveling from one destination to another. This is a beautiful analogy, and here's why. In this world of pornography, a lot of times we think, oh, it's just me that I'm hurting. If no one else knows, I can't hurt anybody else. I'm going to tell you that that's flat out wrong, and here's why. In this community that we live in, whether it be your family, whether it be a social community, whether it be a religious community, whether it be a work community, each person has their own functionality, just like each ship in this armada has its own functionality. And think about this. If the goal of the ships is to get from point A to point B, then there's a few things that have to happen. These ships need to get from point A to point B without sinking themselves and without running into another ship, causing that ship to sink. And what causes a ship to sink? Engine failure, malfunction, user error, and what happens when a ship has malfunction and you're traveling in that tight formation? Invariably, that ship will run into another ship and cause it to sink too. The same thing happens with pornography. The law of connection says that we are all like spokes in a wagon wheel, that we are all connected at the core, just like those ships in the field. If you are consumed with this addiction, whether it be pornography, whether it be video games, whether it be drugs or alcohol, if you're one of those ships in that fleet, then your engine is being destroyed. It's being destructed. It's being totally warped in a sense that it causes damage to your vessel. And what invariably happens, guess what? If you're a human being, if you've ever seen a human being, you're part of this armada. You're part of this ship. You're part of this fleet that's going from one place to another. And if you've got interior damage, then you will invariably affect another. Now, we've talked a lot about the damage that pornography can do. And here's what I want to share with you. Addiction is not permanent. Addiction is not chronic. Addiction is not even generational. Yes, there are factors that affect that. Yes, there are ways we can pass it on to other people. But here's what I want you to know. If there's nothing else that you take away from this, is that addiction is not forever. If there's something that you're suffering with pornography, maybe you know someone that's suffering from the effects of pornography. Maybe you've seen someone's life damaged by what pornography can do, by how it manipulates the brain, by how it desensitizes you, by how it steals your emotions, by how it steals your ability to connect, by how it steals your connection with another human being, by how it gives this incredibly awful counterfeit, but incredibly deceptive counterfeit into what love and community and relationships really are. I want you to know this, that there is hope when you decide. When you decide that you get to live a life outside of that. When you get to open your eyes and say, no more. This does not get to be a part of what I am creating. Because let me just ask you, are you creating something magnificent in your life? Or are you wanting to create something magnificent in your life? Do you have these incredible hopes and dreams? Do you have a family in mind that creates together and has fun and plays together? I'm betting if you're to imagine your ideal life, it doesn't involve waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and finding yourself in front of a screen. I'm betting your ideal scenario of abundance, of wealth, of connection, of health doesn't involve having a secret that you have to hide and keep from someone else in order for you to feel safe. There are communities out there. There are communities out there who support healing, who support growth, and to remind you that your life is on the table. You get to make decisions as if your life is on the line. Because I got news for you. It is. So choose in today. Choose into the life that you want. Choose into the life that you opted into when you first started it. Because you have the choice. You are at choice and you get to choose. No more shame, no more hiding, no more guilt. You get to be fully open and love yourself no matter what. Opt in to your ideal life. Women, let's have a heart-to-heart here. You've probably experienced pornography and its effects in your world. Given the amount of pornography that's proliferating throughout this crazy world that we live in, my guess is you felt the effects of it. There's something I have to share with you. There's a message I have for you. Girl to girl, woman to woman. I understand. I get it. I know what it's like to be in the victim's shoes of pornography, to have someone that you love, or maybe even yourself, strapped by the cords of this. There's something I want you to know. The more we play the victim, the bigger this problem gets. So how do we stop playing the victim card? How do we stop being on that side of this? I'm going to invite you to do something in your world right now. I want you to make a choice in this moment. What do you want your world to look like? What do you want your relationships to look like? And I'm going to invite you to step into a standard. A lot of times we talk about boundaries. In my mind, boundaries separate me from you. That's a boundary. A standard is something I live by. It's a flag I plant next to me and say, this is my standard. I want you to design your standard. What do you stand for? No longer do we stand for victimhood. No longer do we wait for this other shoe to drop. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to live in a place where you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're just waiting for another mess up. You're waiting for another slip. And you know exactly what's going to happen when it gets there. You're going to call your support team and they're going to come shower love and support to you. But guess what, guys? That's an addiction in and of itself. An addiction is seeking comfort, where comfort is temporary. We're having a pain. We're having some sort of a symptom where we need comfort. Guess what? That's exactly what the guys are doing. Or maybe that's exactly what's happening when you slip into pornography, is we're seeking comfort, but that comfort is only temporary. When I found out that my husband had an addiction, I found out that I had an addiction too. That I was addicted to that comfort, that I would seek that comfort whenever it happened. And so in my world, I created chaos so that comfort could be brought upon me. And whenever D-Day would happen, guess what I would do? I would call my support team and they would rally together and they would support me and they would validate me and say, yeah, you have it so hard. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. One day I realized that that cycle was so toxic that I completely lost my power to my addiction of seeking love and support outside of myself. It's time for us to stand up, ladies, and not stand up in a way that emasculates the men, but stand up in your full divine femininity and say, this is what I stand for. I stand for purity. I stand for honor. I stand for a life that I love living, where I can go out and do, where I don't have shame and hiding anymore, where I can be the loving wife, mother, and woman that I was meant to be. Men, let's chat. I get it. I've been there. I know what it's like. Believe it or not, I know what you're going through. There's an element of this addiction that is so shameful that we don't want to share. There's a feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough. There's a feeling of, I'm rejectable, so I need to go something that I know won't reject me. I get it. And I get that a lot of times in our lives, that there's a companion in your world that will oftentimes, for lack of a better word, man up and take the reins. And how are we supposed to show up there? How are we supposed to be a man in this world where everything is being done and men don't really feel like they're needed? I get it. I've seen it show up over and over and over again, and I have something to share with you. There's a woman in your world who's waiting for you to step up. And don't be mistaken, by step up, I don't mean stand up to her. That has a weird energy about it. I'm not really going to go into that. But stepping up, here's what that looks like. There's a woman in your world that's waiting for you to be the hero. She wants you to stand up and be that kind of awesome man that you're wanting to be. And she's been doing her best to figure out how to make things work when there's been a void, when there's been this empty space, and she's trying to fill in the best that she can. Now it's time for you to take a stand and say, what is your standard? What are you going to stand by? What do you want to raise your sons and share with your friends? How do you want to show up to them? Do you want to have a world where you continue to hide this yucky shadow part of you? Or do you want to live in a world that says, yep, I made a mistake, and now I'm committed to living even better than I was yesterday, because that's how I measure progress. Progress is, am I better than I was yesterday? And tomorrow I'm going to be better than I was today. This continual progression, that's what's on the other side. And that's what you get to live in now. In this moment, I'm getting to choose. I get to choose what serves me best, and I get to choose to be the man that shows up. Because I got news for you. As a woman, I can speak for a lot of women when I say this. We love you. We are here to support you, and we admire you. We can hold space for you when you're in your best and when you're in your worst, because we would love for you to do that for us too. We're all just human beings trying to figure this out. And there is a time where you get to stand up and say, no more. I stand for the best.
I sure hope you enjoyed today's video, and Marianne, thank you so much again for being a guest on the show. This is a kind of a sensitive subject for a lot of people. Pornography has had a lot of detrimental effects on people, and our invitation is to come get with Marianne and I and the rest of our leadership team to one of our next Limitless events. This is the ultimate 3-day breakthrough event for change, and if you feel that change is calling to you and you really want help in doing that, click the link below, and we'll see you at one of our next events.